And at that point, it was like 2 hours after the dealership had closed. And I just was like exhausted and I just signed. And I really wish that I wouldn't have. I had a gut feeling that something was wrong. I left the car lot the exact opposite as like you should when you just make a big purchase like that. I was hysterically crying. I knew that I had made a bad decision right like as soon as I drove off the lot.
Give me the rundown of what happened here. You said they put the wrong VIN on the paperwork, so you're having to go back tonight. Like, help me understand what happened, and then I'm happy to talk you through what I'm seeing here on the paperwork.
Yeah, what basically happened was I'm in the market for a new car. I've been researching over probably the past year. I didn't like just rush into this. I felt like I kind of settled on the new Nissan Altima. I originally was looking for a lower trim. The dealership near me didn't have it. And of course they said like, oh, we could have it shipped in, just come in and talk to us. And somehow that got me talked into a more expensive trim. Fast forward the 2 days, we were negotiating. We had a number set. I felt like really good about the deal. I felt like, wow, I took all of the info I got offline from you guys, from you and your dad. And I felt like I did a really good job. They were saying like, wow, usually people that like young girls, they don't come in here with all this info. They were like kind of, cheesing me up. So when I got to the point where they were like, all right, we have a deal, I was like, yeah, definitely. I gave them the okay to run my credit. I changed my insurance. I got to the finance room. Like, of course, that's the last step. Made it through all the paperwork. And literally, I'm sure you've, leased your own fair share of cars. It's literally the last piece of paper. They were like, okay, you just owe $3,000 today. And I was like, what do you mean $3,000? Like, I just spent the last 2 days with you guys talking about how I needed a lease with zero down, all fees, all taxes rolled in. Oh, I don't know. You must have misunderstood. That's not really the way things work. Kind of like tried to make me feel stupid. Like I didn't know what I was talking about. And at that point, it was like 2 hours after the dealership had closed. And I just was like exhausted and I just signed. And I really wish that I wouldn't have. I had a gut feeling that something was wrong. I left the car lot the exact opposite as like you should when you just make a big purchase like that. I was hysterically crying. I knew that I had made a bad decision right like as soon as I drove off the lot. In the morning, I kind of was just like, I messed up. It was my first time doing this. Like I at least got the car I want. Like, let me just try to be happy about it. And I'm looking through the paperwork and I realized that on the lease contract, the one that I sent you, it says Nissan Altima ST front wheel drive. And immediately, like, my heart just sunk into my stomach because I had told them from the jump, my two biggest things were that I wanted all-wheel drive and, like, a plus would be, like, if the car had a sunroof. And those are my two biggest things. But, all-wheel drive, I said it a million times. I just sent you the negotiation paper we were using.
Yep.
It says it on that paper. And I was just really confused. And of course it was a Sunday, so they were closed. I couldn't call right away. In the morning, my brother ended up calling. They were like, there's no way. We definitely sold her an all-wheel drive car. There must be a mistake. So they had me send a picture of my VIN that was on the physical car. I guess I don't really know. I don't work in a car dealership, so I'm not really sure who's that on that made that mistake on the lease contract. Whoever put it together must have not double checked the VIN, and it's just entirely a different car. I mean, it's still an Altima, but it's front wheel drive for sure. I guess they kind of realized that it would be more trouble than it was worth to try to get me, re-sign the papers or whatever. Yeah. Sorry, I feel like I'm rambling. My brother basically got them to just do no harm, no foul, let me out of the lease. So honestly, yeah, it was a blessing in disguise that happened, because if it hadn't, I would have been stuck in this lease that I didn't feel good about even before I thought it was front wheel drive. But yeah, so that's why I know you had said like, oh, why would you message after? Like, that was why I was like, something is wrong and I need somebody who knows more than me to look at this and tell me that like, I'm not crazy for thinking something is wrong, because you know how they are. They try to make you feel, oh no, you got this great deal. If every customer was like you, we'd be out of business. We're not making any money on this deal. And I was like, I feel crazy. So yeah.
So Sarah, a couple things. Wow. Thank you for sharing all that with me. And dang, you are so close. You are so close. That finance manager, that finance office is what totally threw a wrench in this, because I got to tell you, the deal they gave you for like the actual selling price, I know it's a lease with the capitalized cost, but the selling price of the vehicle is really good. You did an incredible job. Like, that is
Really?
Yeah, that's super solid. Like well below dealer invoice costs. Like you did a really good job. It's obnoxious that there's a $900 or $895 doc fee, but that kind of it is what it is. And when you've got such a good discount off of MSRP, because you said the MSRP was $35,690, right?
Yes. And I guess that I was confused about the cap cost. That was what was really like throwing me when I was looking through the paperwork, was because they kept telling me, oh, we got you down to $29,999. But I mean, unless I overlooked it, that's nowhere on the paperwork.
Yeah, they didn't
and they
quite
also
get you to $29,990. They got you to $31,878.81, which is still great on a Nissan Altima that has an MSRP of $35,690. Invoice, like dealer cost on that is around $33,000. So, and to be clear, they also make money from holdback and other areas. So who knows if it was fully a loser. Where the kind of, as my dad would say, like poop hit the fan was when you went to that finance office. That Crystal Fusion and total loss protection, both of those are taxable, so they're negotiable. Those are two things that, when you go back to the dealership, you might want to still, have the vehicle, but you want to remove those add-ons. The total loss protection is gap insurance, gap waiver. And you can get that from your credit union. You can get that from anywhere. But $1,500 for that is crazy, Sarah. Like that's something that you could have negotiated down probably to like $750 or $650 or just passed on altogether. And then Crystal Fusion, if I'm not mistaken, is some sort of like paint protection or interior protection or something. Yeah. Those are the only two things on here. I double checked the money factor. That is the subvented lease rate from Nissan right now. So you got that. They didn't mark that up at all. So that's really good. And the discount you got off of MSRP is really solid. So actually, like, between the discount and the rebates, because there was $2,650 in rebates, like you did well. You did really well. It's just a bummer that in the finance office, it kind of went to hell.
Yeah, I just when I was talking to the car salesman, when I was talking to the sales manager, I was like, I need to know every fee that you're throwing in here. That's not the car. That's not the car. Anything else on top of it. Yep. So when I was expecting, the doc fee, the acquisition fee, but when I saw like the Crystal Fusion and the other things, I said something to the finance manager. I was like, I didn't agree to these. And I told them that I didn't want any add-ons. Like, can we take these off? And he gave me some spiel about how, we base the price of the car around these add-ons. So if you take them off, then the total price of the car is going to go up. So you're not going to save any money by taking them off.
Which, Sarah, just for between you and me, is total and complete BS. They didn't give you that good of a deal. Just like for context here, our target price range, so like with the dealer discount and everything, is somewhere around like $31,724 is kind of like the high end of our target price range. They had you at $31,878. So it's like a very fair deal for everyone involved. That jargon, that crap that he was feeding you was simply to try and get you to sign the paperwork, because maybe at this dealership they say, hey, if we can't stick the customer $3,000 of extra crap in the finance office, go back out, renegotiate, and jack the price of the car back up $3,000. But they weren't going to do that. They were going to get the car deal. So that was just, which is a bummer, a huge bummer that tactics like that are used to try and convince you that you need to, sign on the dotted line. So you got a good deal. They didn't give you a good enough deal that they could then stick you with $3,000 worth of stuff and justify it. That's for sure.
Okay, that definitely makes me feel way better. I'm sure you hear it all the time, but once you get to that point and you're like at the end of the deal, you're just so exhausted. You've seen so many numbers that like they just all start to blend together. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just made this awful decision. I just totally got screwed. So that made me feel a lot better, definitely.
For what it's worth, you didn't totally get screwed. It's just $3,000 of extra crapola over 39 months rolled into your lease right now. If the dealership made this mistake on the VIN, which you said they did, this is what you go in and have the conversation about is, hey guys, I would love to rectify this mistake that you made on the paperwork. However, the only way I'm willing to do it is if we cancel these other products that I didn't really want and I felt like I was taken advantage of in the process of purchasing. Let me know what we can do here. And know that since they messed up the paperwork, you have a lot of leverage right now. And for those that end up watching a video, if we make one out of this, these are the types of games and tactics that these dealerships try and use. And they took, I hate to say it, Sarah, but they really took advantage of you. End of all your negotiation, all the numbers they put in front of you, no one else was at the dealership. That's what a terrible situation to be in when you're spending $30,000. I'm so sorry that you had to go through that.
No, thank you so much, Zach. I really appreciate your insight and your wisdom. And I just have like one question, because I know you mentioned something about the interest rate.
Yeah.
I have really good credit, like over 800. And
Yep.
when I was researching, I saw Nissan, they have like a tier 0 for really high credit scores. And the salesman, I was like, oh, there's nothing you can do about that money market, like, or the
Money factor.
I'm like, yes, money factor. And he was like, no, sorry, like that's the lowest we could go. There's no tier higher. Does that sound about right? I didn't catch exactly what you said about the interest.
Yeah. So I saw on the sheet that you sent over, the Foursquare that you sent over. It's so great to see a Foursquare at a Nissan dealership. So old school. So I took the 0.00163, which is the money factor, and I multiplied it by 2,400. When you do that, you get the effective interest rate, which is 3.9%. When I looked back on CarEdge.com, we pull all of the monthly programs from the manufacturer. Nissan Motor Acceptance Corporation currently we have it at 3.86%. Maybe they held 4/100ths of a point here. I don't think they did. I think it's just probably a discrepancy between our incentive systems and the actual number there. But yeah, you're spot on. Right when I saw that money factor and then I compared it to the incentives data we have, I knew your credit was really, really strong. You have to have strong credit to lease to begin with. And yeah, you definitely got the money factor with no, like I said, maybe there's 4/100ths or 5/100ths of a markup in there, but that's certainly not something to lose sleep over.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. I mean, that's great. I actually, I just felt really like that it kind of ruined the experience for me. So that's why I was planning on returning the lease entirely, but they just literally right before you answered my message, they responded, or they called me and they gave me like, oh, we understand that we made a mistake, but you're not going to get this good of a deal anywhere else. You could never get a better deal. And I just didn't know if that was true or not. So it's good to hear that, like, I did get a pretty good deal minus the add-ons. And, if I want to leverage with them, I don't think I'll negotiate with them tonight. I'm just so over it. But maybe I'll just say like, if you guys really want my business, then like, I won't be taking these add-ons and we can talk another day.
Yeah, absolutely, Sarah. Again, to reiterate, is it like, 10 out of 10 unicorn deal that, never been seen before? No. Is it a really, really, really fair deal? Absolutely. So you've got nothing there that you should feel concerned of. Is it a bad deal with $3,000 in add-ons tacked on at the end? Yeah, unfortunately it is. And so that, like you said, you have some leverage here. When you're ready, have that conversation and know that those products, they're taxable, they're negotiable. So when they start to even hit you with more things like, well, you don't want gap protection. What happens if this, that? You can say, you know what, guys, you really want to sell it to me? Sell it to me at 50% off. Then I'm interested. Like, you have a lot of leverage here. And again, you did a really, really, really good job. I'm looking at this Foursquare you sent over. I have so much empathy for you. It's a shame that this process is what it is. There's all the writing on it, all the different colors, the different markers. You did a really great job, Sarah. And let us know what happens here on the other side of this when you do contact the dealership.
Yes, definitely. I'll send you guys an update. And I just wanted to say thank you, especially to you and your dad, because your guys' videos were on repeat for me before I went into that dealership. So all of that negotiating was definitely a big part to you. So thank you. Thank you so much. I love your guys' channel. And I really hope you guys consider doing the lease thing again, like the lease reviews, because there's other people out there like me that could use it. And I really appreciate you responding to my message and giving me a call.
Absolutely, Sarah. Well, thanks so much for spending some time with me. Let me know how it goes. I'll look out for an Instagram DM. And if you know anyone in the car market, just send them our way. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
You do the same, Sarah. Thanks so much.
Thanks. Bye-bye.